All right, folks, we're back here for episode 2 of We Own This City. We're using Nigeria Usuals here doing what we do best. And before we get started for the night, I would like to give a quick shout out to the folks who are upset about our Baltimore jokes last week. We are so sorry we didn't do more of them. And whatever feelings that you had about them, oh well. And here we go.
There were people mad about Baltimore jokes?
Oh yeah.
Was it the jokes or your utter hatred for Baltimore?
You know what it is. It's the same thing. But listen, here's the thing about it. Baltimore folks do the same thing to folks from New York. They do the same thing to people in DC. And it's all fun and games. You've never heard of no Baltimore DC war, except for on college campuses. And you've never heard of no legitimate New York Baltimore war. So it's just fun and games, folks. Like, don't be so sensitive.
There are legitimate Baltimore New York wars and legitimate Baltimore DC wars, but you too will get over all the jokes.
Anyway, I see you're repping your good old black and blue over there. I'm guessing your team Jenkins in this, huh? That's what's happening?
Blue lives matter. Blue lives matter.
There we go.
Just understand that.
Yep. How you doing tonight, sir?
Man, I am so upset with this episode.
Really?
That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's start with it. Let's talk about it.
Snitches get stitches. Snitches get stitches.
For sure. Are you mad about the events of the episode, or are you mad about
just one person? Just one person.
Oh yeah.
No, not the production. The production is amazing.
Okay.
Just one person who you couldn't hold it down. Can't stand 10 toes down to save his life.
Yeah. First of all, I want to give a quick shout out to Darrell Britt-Gibson. First episode, I kept thinking to myself, where did I recently see him in that I really enjoyed? And it was Fear Street, which is something we both were high on. I didn't realize it until I was watching that. I was like, aha, Fear Street. There you go. So, he plays Jamel, the cop, the snitch cop, should we say, Rayam, and we'll talk about it. And I think let's just get into tonight's episode. I want to once again say that the first episode was fantastic. You all's feedback and comments was all very lovely, whether you hated or loved, whatever our commentary was. We appreciate you coming by listening. And going back into episode 2, man, they got it going. They're on a roll. And the biggest thing for us, as we stated in the first episode, with us being 45 minutes plus south, all these things that happened in Baltimore, we remember. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, things are still happening right now. So, for the events that are taking place in real life, for what this is, the visual depiction of these things for television purposes, I still enjoy it as if I had not known anything. I think they're really putting together a solid product, a solid production, telling a good story. That's factual, but nonetheless, still really bringing me back to my initial feelings about when these events happening. Thus, letting me know that they're doing a good job on what they're doing. So, I'm enjoying this, man. 2 episodes.
It's a nice blended story. This is what you kind of want. Like, it's not focused on one thing. It's cop corruption on multiple fronts. Because it kind of shows you, it's just not one. The last thing you want to do is a show like this and say, oh, it was just the GTTF that was corrupt. Everyone else in Baltimore was great. It's like, no, all of them were corrupt, equally corrupt.
Yeah.
And the Department of Justice being there didn't matter one bit to them. They still were corrupt.
Yeah. I believe I said this last episode, but if I didn't, I'm honestly still waiting to see what they got on the county. Because the county right now is looking like the heroes, and they're the ones looking what's happening in the city. But we know.
and we know that is not true. They are equally bad.
Yeah, I cannot wait for the switch on that in this series. So, but in this episode now we start off with Wayne Jenkins being brought in, heading toward the interrogation room, and now he has a lot of time on his hand. He's reflecting back on his career, and or however you want to feel about it, he's sort of reflecting back in the sense of, where did I go wrong? And we sort of see events going back into 2003 up into 2005, where 2003 is where he first came on the scene. He got his field training, And then going into 2005 is when he became the what do you call it? Because I do not know any of the terminology. He ended up becoming like the trainee, whatever the term is.
A training officer.
Yeah, training officer. FTO.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically see this toxic culture in policing being spread. Didn't matter where you came from, didn't matter your ethnicity, it didn't matter nothing. This was the gospel they preached, and if you were buying in, you had to buy in. And you know, when we talk about Baltimore, and you know, whether we're talking about the city or we're talking about the corruption in it, this is just showing you that this is generational corruption. And we can stop talking about this right now, and you can go Google and be like, yeah, I can't believe they were talking about 2003 on their review, and I'll Google something, that thing said 2022. Yep. Things are still happening.
It showed you, and this is possibly the best parts of the episode. It showed you the breaking of a cop.
Yeah.
You could come in. I'm not gonna say it's just Baltimore, it's police department, it's any police department. If you get the wrong training officer, they'll corrupt you. And all it was him let him know from the moment he said, forget everything you learned in training, this is Baltimore. It told you right there that this is not going to go down a good path. But we saw Jenkins hold out at first. He was trying to do everything he could by the book.
Question everything, every step.
And you see that, like, his TO always had an answer. No, we're going to do this instead. No, we're going to do this instead. And then when it came down to the biggest thing, the biggest factor that changes people's lives, money.
Yeah.
Hey, how you want to make this money? We do it this way with overtime. They're not gonna give us overtime for just street shit. But if we arrest these folk, put them on the docket, we get double time. And the moment he bent and said, let's haul them all in, we saw the downward spiral from there.
Yeah. And that folk, don't act like overtime and financial benefits ain't a motivational factor. I know folks who have jobs in terms of commuting where it's like, oh, I'm going to take the long way. Or maybe I'll sit in traffic a little bit because that extends the hours and whatever it may be, thus invoking overtime. So like, it's against the law. And then on the other end, you know, folks who have 30-minute lunches but take 45 minutes, that's still in time, which is also still making sure you get your money.
Yeah.
So it's just to the worst degree, you know what I mean? But I'm saying that philosophy is all over.
Even a stock boy take a little bit longer at night.
No, yeah.
Necessary. Everybody trying to get their extra little dollar here, but this is just showing you like this became the root of his issue, and it started off with the crab thing. When it didn't start off with that, but yeah, we gotta talk about that because you know that hurt my little feelings right there. But to me, I think when that happened, they made him feel so small.
Yes.
Because to him, $45 was a lot of money.
And that's
yeah. So if you put that in perspective, that $45 is a lot of money, and you see, like, he's a brand new cop on the beat. Like, you know, everything is hard to come by, and someone gives you this golden goose on. This is how we do it. This is how we make extra money. But this is the beginning of the worst possible corruption you can possibly do. Because at this point, you're just arresting people just to arrest them.
You could be on your own stoop and get got. A couple of things real quick. First of all, because the folks love us to make sure we put on for our area, being from the DMV and whatnot. Folks, anybody pulling up with a bushel of crabs, they getting the utmost love. That's just on site.
And if you could get a bushel of crabs for $45, you clearly bought them from some illegal warehouse, or those ain't real crabs.
Hey, listen. He name dropped a very significant place in Baltimore, Maryland, Jimmy Seafood. He said, oh, my guy Jimmy set it on the side for me. I was like, oh, what you trying to tell us, boy? Jimmy out here colluding with the cops? But nah, Jimmy's a respected place. They got great seafood. If you're ever in the Baltimore area, you should definitely check it out.
And little ass crabs, like they made fun of him for having in that.
Yeah, stop playing with Jimmy, man. Jimmy holds it down, man. Jimmy and all you pro wrestling fans, Jimmy always hold events and always got star talent coming in. So like that's a place.
It's a good shout out that they put it
for sure.
You had to pick you got to pick a local spot.
Yeah,
and that's a local spot. Yeah. And Jimmy was probably like, "Yeah, you get them little crabs. You get them jokes for free." Them jokes went a little.
Hey, look. You get the medium females for 45 for a bushel. That's still a come up. So just to let you know, folks.
Hey, them jokes like $80 now. So even the little female jokes.
Yep, like, and that's on season. Off season probably like double that. So and folks, if you never had the Maryland blue crabs, pull up. Best crabs in America, not even a question.
You see how in the first episode he shitted all on Baltimore. And now you talk about crabs, just like a DC.
It's a Maryland thing. It's not Baltimore. It's a Maryland thing. I love Baltimore. Shout out to Baltimore, Maryland. My yo's out there. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, getting into it, like you said, we are starting to, as you say, the more or less the breaking of a cop, but also the building of what it means to be on the Baltimore police force. At the same time, as we said, Jamel, who is also being brought in a crossing of one another. This is where he yells out and says, "Don't talk that shit. Keep it quiet. Keep it rest." And Jenkins, on the other hand, was like, "Hey, keep us away from him," because Jenkins is ready to go in there.
Not Jenkins.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm sorry. Jamel was ready to go in there and tell all, but in the crossing, Jenkins was like, "Keep your mouth closed."
Yep.
And then Jamel was like, "Yeah, keep us away from him," as if there was some type of plan. They were going to
they said that you knew then he was snitching. See, this is why I don't like snitches. And I ain't saying I don't like snitches because cops should cover for cops. I'm saying it because to me, you only snitch to get out of shit that you should get hit with harder. Okay, like the stories that they told about Rayam. Am I saying his last name right? Rayam.
Yeah.
Rayam.
Rayam. Yeah. Rayam.
Yeah. Detective Rayam and the shit he was doing. Dog, that junk with dude who took the money out for escrow broke my heart.
Equity my ass. That hurt me. He had 11 G's on him and said, "We'll take that."
Yeah.
Refinance it. They saying anything out here.
Hey, here's my part. He legitimately looked like he was refinancing his house. Like, come on, son. Like, this is why people feel the need to punch cops at times when they see them. Because we the fought. I don't give a fuck how many guns you got.
Yeah, that did hurt me.
We gonna fight today. But again, it just shows just how corrupt he is. And we saw in the first episode, he's out here, as he tells on himself later on them robbing Anderson and how they got away with the money and how the girl always gives up the money. Like, this is not a good dude. I don't think you deserve to get a light sentence because you're willing to snitch on other people. Or just, I mean, as we're going to get into it, even his backstory that they told. Like, come on, man.
What I think is, and I firmly agree, I think in terms of some type of plea, which we know he gets, well, sorry, spoiler, but but it's because, as he stated, the IAD couldn't catch up to them for nothing. It was almost like, we know something's going wrong, but maybe tomorrow. And that was just a constant trail of just not even them getting the dead ends, but them just not completely going anywhere with any of these things. So it's not that they didn't feel like they were untouchable, but they just never felt like they ever had to be clean or they ever had to just be, any form of just a strategical plan that wouldn't get them caught. They felt they can do and act however they want because nobody was ever going to come after them. And that's what makes me think, in terms of him being in this interrogation room, that he's just like, well, we never got in trouble at all anyway, so I don't see me really getting in trouble now.
It's a situation where even Eternal Affairs is horrible in Baltimore. That's what they're telling you here.
Yes.
Like when he said they didn't even think about tracking my phone. How would that not be the first thought that comes into your mind? So when the entity that is supposed to police the police fail to police the police and they know that they're failing at it, at that point, I think a sense of untouchability does come upon you. You're like, oh, dude, we can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Like, if the IAD can't get us, who the hell is going to stop us from doing anything?
Yeah.
And as he said, the sergeant's involved in it. We even got the cover down pat.
Yeah, you said, because you thought he was higher up there. He wasn't in this too? No. Everybody was in it. And that's why we all lied, because no one cared. It didn't matter. So there's that. And, I would think that, FBI and DOJ all sit here scratching their head like, yo, this whole city
told the FBI agents as he's talking about his case, how they caught him high, caught with coke, and because they messed up, that they couldn't prosecute, and all they did was suspend him with pay for 2 years. So in other words, he got to sit home on his ass for 2 years, collect the paycheck. Then you brought him back and put him in the most corrupt unit possible. Like I have never gotten a Christmas gift that good before. Like
that at all.
It again, it just leads to why they felt they could never be touched. And it also explains why G Money was so damn reckless. It makes perfectly good sense now.
Yeah, because I think that in the first episode, you start to think this guy is a complete idiot. And you have to go back and reevaluate that, because is he an idiot if he felt like he wasn't touched? I mean, how many top et ceteras do and act as they please because they know there's no repercussions? This guy is a cop. And with that, some cops hide behind the badge. Most cops hide behind the badge. This one was like, it doesn't even matter if I'm wearing a badge or not. I could be in plain clothes and do what I want to do. They were on a whole nother level of acting without regard. So was he stupid? No, he was just out here using his personal benefits here. So can you blame him?
You wait till after he tells you all the corrupt shit to say, hey, hit me on FaceTime.
Hey, I got to talk about that. We'll get to it. I cannot wait to talk about that, because that was probably the funniest thing of this entire episode. But going back to Wayne Jenkins. Now, when he first met his PTO. Now, first things first, I gotta say, if this has ever happened to you, this is definitely like I'm not gonna say like a triggering moment, but like one way or another, something about this, I was just like, oh, one of these type of dudes. When he said, "Good evening, sir," and he says, "I'm not your sir," first thing I realized is that guy's ex-military, because there's this whole thing of them always having to say sir where they don't want anybody to call them sir because of all their active duty time. So that moment, I was like, oh, this is where everything is about to go to shit, because this first hitting off and he's bringing him under his wing, and he already got him starting off on a bad foot. So I either thought that he was going to either dump him to the slums, or we got this, what happened, where he actually treated him with respect, but he gave him the Baltimore policing treatment of respect. So essentially, you have to again, because we're building up the psychology of this character here. He wasn't giving a bad what do you call it, like a bad bone or a bad whatever in order to start off his policing career. He was actually given good, proper treatment. He just wasn't taught the right way. He was taught unethically.
Yeah, he had someone who respected him enough to teach him all the horrible things up front. It's like, whenever you come into a job, let me explicitly talk about my job without talking about my job. So when I get new people who start at my job, I always tell them, hey, all them older folks here, they're going to tell you the worst things in the world to do. Your job is to not follow suit with them. You have to have the willpower to understand you can't do what they are doing, because it's going to lead you down a path that can get you in lots of trouble. And that's one thing clear here that Jenkins was concerned with at first. Like, asking questions like, why are we arresting him? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? Like, he's asking the right questions, but it seemed like it's so much fear behind him ever stepping up and speaking out when he thought something was wrong. And it's because it wasn't just one cop doing it.
Oh, yeah.
When he brought him around everybody and he sees everyone else is doing this, you don't want to be the person who sticks out. Even later on in the episode, when we see another cop, he had to go off in a secret place to snitch, because I don't want to be the one that sticks out, because crossing that blue line is very serious. And you see the fear of it just by Jenkins not wanting to step up and say that, nah, this is wrong. Even though at times it looked like he wanted to say, like, this is wrong. Yeah. And he just couldn't bring himself to do it.
Either that, or I mean, he's just taking in so much vast information and reading the room all around him, is that it's got to be overwhelming to think that everything that you were taught is not admissible or whatever. I don't know. That's not the word I want to use. Or relevant, shall I say,
Applicable.
to applicable. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say. To everything that's happening right now. And like you said, culture sensitivity, fuck that. All this shit out the window. The philosophy here, dear, is very different in Baltimore.
That was the funniest part when he said all that sensitivity shit they put you through. Forget about it.
Yeah. Now, here's a tidbit I didn't know about, and you may know a little bit about this. Now, the good old mayor, Martin O'Malley, I had no clue that his whole campaign to becoming governor was about getting the murder rate down in Baltimore, and that was all driven through the Baltimore policing. Basically, there's a term for this, I can't think of this either, about getting everybody off the streets in order to prevent crimes from happening, which will also prevent murders from happening. I mean, it sounds smart, but it is completely terrible because every black person was being profiled for whatever.
Martin O'Malley was known. It wasn't just in Baltimore that he had this going on. This was everywhere in Maryland that had a high crime rate. But hey, because at one point in time, that's why I love the point you see the chief is from PG County. Because remember, around that portion of time when Jenkins supposedly had started, PG County and Baltimore was running body for body. Like their murder rates were damn near equal. And he brought in saying, I can lower the crime rate. I can lower the murder rate. How do we do that? We're going to lock everybody up or force you in your house? Because if you all ain't outside, ain't nobody to kill.
Crazy. Crazy. Now, at this point, they go, and like, I will say that I struggle just a little bit with how the time periods are kind of jumping, but this now goes to October 2015, which then becomes 15 months earlier than where we're currently at. But this is basically where we start to see, like, you know, all of the feds evaluating what's happening in Baltimore. Like the plainclothes folks are all under evaluation. We've already seen this kind of in a sort of a meeting with internal affairs coming in. Or was it internal affairs? I don't know. Either way, Jenkins did not respect his superiors. And when they brought up the plainclothes folks and one of theirs being brought in, they were kind of just like free my mans and we back to work. You know, they just completely disregarded it. And I think you see this transformation. First of all, Jon Bernthal is killing it because like this other banter that he's giving off now, and even like this his mannerisms with everything. Like we see him scared in a jail cell, maybe reserved. We see him more straight focused in his younger days. Now we see him more cocky and more just like I can't be touched, and we truly see him becoming who he is. And I also think in really good duality between the first two episodes is how we see him in the front of the classroom in the beginning of last episode and in the back in this one. And now we're getting that middle cake of everything that's happening in the tour in terms of the transformation that he's become. But like I said, the plainclothes folks, this is just the start. Everybody is now aware of what's happening with them. And so thus you would think, oh, time to tighten up. Not at all. Not at all.
Because this was the time where we find out that the investigators were looking for something else. And all of a sudden they got the name G Money, and it's what, Strapno? Am I saying his name right? Strapple? The drug dealer that they're actually going after.
Sharpshire.
Sharpshire.
Listen, because his last name is a little bit hard to say. Tony. Tony Sharpshire.
So Tony, the one that they're going after, happens to be linked to a plainclothes cop.
Yeah.
And that link
is the sandbox.
Yep. And that link is what starts everything. Because you see, right, the investigators had no idea of anything. And then all of a sudden they get the link and they're like, oh, where does this link lead us to? And then we see the rabbit hole that leads us down to the end where Tony is attempting to get rid of a wire and calls his man on the phone. And his man give him all the information and then says, hey, hit me on FaceTime. Like, my guy, there's no need to. We've talked about everything already. Oh, even him trying to say, yeah, because I don't even know who I'm talking to.
Yep.
Come on, are you serious?
Ayo. Again, going back to knowing what happened between the two of them, And I'll just quickly say that G Money basically was doing whatever he could to kind of protect Tony. And it's crazy to think that the end product of seeing how just blatantly ignorant they were to everything that's happened on. I mean, they were like, let's be honest, folks. Y'all were probably thinking they were trolling. But there's like, we're probably being tracked right now. They're probably tapping in right now, and they just continue to just have complete diarrhea of the mouth about everything that's happening.
Because they're thinking if it's IED, there's nothing to worry about. They're like,
Right.
Those guys are idiots. Like,
Yeah, right.
So they're again, when the people who oppose the police are looked at as jokes. You can make jokes like, man, they probably tapping us right now, man. Don't even worry about it though. We good. Like,
Yeah.
It's nuts that they would be talking like that, but it makes perfectly good sense when you hear the full story of it.
Oh man! And if that wasn't a funny thing, then we get Young Moose, who out here in his raps. He's not snitching, by the way, because he's not a cop, but he's damn sure out there dropping some names that are people of interest. One being Herschel himself, the one that everybody, well, not everybody, the one that Nicole Steele is looking for, the one who's had 46 complaints and nothing has stuck. So,
yes.
Let's talk about Young Moose real quick. Now, Young Moose, who played Young Moose in this, by the way, he's also, if you want to talk about current events, he has currently, as of right now, has a lawsuit for $1 million against the Gun Trade Task Force over two things: his wrongful arrest and for ruining his rap career. Also, he has a new song with Boosie out. That's kind of a banger. I won't even fake, but Young Moose is still out here, folks. So just know that. So
Oh man, look here.
Can't be mad at the hustle, man.
Hey, young Moose is no famous. That's all I'm gonna say. He didn't give us the streets need a body.
Oh man, but yeah, we'll talk about him a little bit more in a second because he does get to meet with Nicole, and we'll talk about the mom's mix of that. Now, the funny thing about it is that when you start to talk about the county, folks corroborate with the county in terms of civilians or witnesses or whatever it may be. Folks cooperate with the county, but when it comes down to the city cops, it is a complete fuck it. And that's, they talk about it. We'll talk about it in a second, but that's again still explaining to you the differences of 10 miles. Like seriously, if not even 10 miles, but like just the differences. But at this point now, as you said, and as everything has been very, very evident at this point, that everything points to G Money. The county is wondering, of all their murders and everything that's happening there, why does it keep turning up and leading towards this guy? That's a cop, by the way. And then he's from the city and everything's happening in the city. Everything points to G Money. And, my man, Mr. Snitch, is also at the same token also. And it's crazy how they kind of shot these two scenes where they're basically like, and the county is like G Money. And then you got Jamel and locked up now saying G Money. Yeah, we ran up in the spies. We did this and that. We had the tracker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he's the person of interest. The FBI is interested in Herschel, which I said has 46 complaints, but nothing that's really stuck. But those right now seem to just be very two different opposite cases. But again, as you said, this is just showing you that it's not just one person.
Yeah.
And then we still got, Wayne Jenkins in jail. So like, it's not just them. So many other people are attached to this web of just complete corruption and ill will and ill regard, should we even add as well too?
Because I think the key part to always remember is everything we're seeing with the GTTF and Jenkins, Jamil, everything we're seeing with all of them happened kinda before the investigations with Herschel and everybody else. So their stuff happened before the Justice Department got involved in anything. Herschel is going around still doing this with them here. Or the sad joke about the little kid Samuels and what the police did to him. Like, that's happening after the fact. So it's kind of showing you that, yeah, we did this. We arrested all these cops. We investigated them to get corruption out, but the corruption is still there.
Yeah, and I thought you were going to say, but like, yeah, and then some of these things are still kind of happening now. So, but I mean, you know, story for another time. We'll stick to the episode. But
Exactly.
another thing I just want to kind of focus, just bring a little focus and attention to, is that each time we see a new report being opened up in the police database in terms of what Jenkins is doing, understand that these are like milestones of things that we see, and it explains how he's been molded over time. And you know, you could potentially say how each of these incidents or events, whatever it is, if it had been different, how it might have been different for him. But you know, you're seeing all the way, and in this, like I said, in this episode, you're covering from 2003 to 2005 when he becomes an FTO, and he still continued to spread the toxic culture. Now, listen, I have got to bring up this. Now, when he came up on the scene, and I don't know what the hell was happening in the scene, but when he pulled out the baton and he was smacking my man on the legs, right? Which you're like, oh yeah, that's just normal police brutality, until he's beating his own man because he wore his own regular shoes instead of his boots.
Not because he wore regular shoes. And they said it because he had on Jordans. So they automatically assumed he was the perp. Like, nigga, you got on Jordans, you must be the perp. But the point that he just walked up on him and started beating him and didn't ask a single question, again, shows that was the scene that showed you the transformation of Jenkins. Because before then, he was still kind of like straight laced about stuff. Here, he just like, nope, I'm just gonna beat on the first person I see.
Oh my God, man. This show is great. That's just what I was gonna say. This show is great. I meant to bring this up earlier. So going back to G Money, they also made it clear that city boys were buying their own equipment. You know, those trackers. You can almost say even some of their clothing and stuff. They probably all bought all these things.
Yeah.
What's your assessment of that? Break that down. Why that was significant for them to do such?
Oh, because the county has the money. It's very simple here. The Baltimore City Police Department has no money, little to no money. The county has the money. Keep in mind, this is a running theme in the shows created by David Simon, because we saw the same thing on The Wire, where the ones in the county had money. The Baltimore City police officers did not have money. So again, welcome to another microcosm of what can cause issues. Yep. How the hell are you running a police department that I have to supply myself with the basic necessities to actually be a police officer? Versus if I go up the road a little bit, they have everything they need. Why? Because Baltimore County is the rich part of Baltimore. For people that didn't know, I understand, you know, you see The Wire, you see all these shows, you assume there are no good parts of Baltimore. No, Baltimore County is extremely expensive. Yeah. Baltimore City has good pockets in it.
Yeah.
But as a whole, they don't have the money. And I think that's why the guy was defending them when he said, hey man, city guys, they got to buy this stuff themselves. A lot of them don't have this equipment. They have to pick this up themselves. How the hell do you buy? I'm not buying a tracer to do my job.
But listen, also at the same time too, is because it was unofficial policing duties, like where we seen in the beginning of the first episode where they had the two tracers on the one car, and it was like, are they going to get these things? Aren't they pretty expensive? Well, sure, but was it ever supposed to be retrieved, or was this supposed to be one of those type of like, this is for this mission, if we get it, we get it, if not, it is what it is?
Or was it because we got so much money? Yeah,
street money.
Because remember,
money.
I think the sergeant said that in the first episode. Like, hey man, remember, or one of them, or G Money Man said in the first episode, hey, remember to get that damn tracker. Them Jones is expensive. And they laughed that shit off like it was nothing.
That's true. That's true. Yes, it was. That was. Yeah.
But we saw the county guy, when he brought it up, it was like, hey man, this is an expensive piece of equipment. Make sure we get that back when you're finished.
Yeah.
It showed, one, the difference that the city has to buy it and the county just gets it. But two, it shows you the corruption that the city cops like, we don't care if we lose that, Joan. It is what it is. The county guy like, we can't afford to replace that.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing about G Money, and I also forgot to mention Tony's Nick Treat name, Brill. It's quite obvious now that they're friends since the sandbox, just in different places of their life, but still doing what they do best. The interesting thing about this is that like a cop having a street name is G Money automatically should be the most suspicious thing. Period. It's in numerous documents. It's in songs, it's in all sorts of different things, and he literally didn't care because he just felt like he was the man on the block, and it was what it was. So,
G Money ain't been a good name since New Jack City. Like you can't just be named G Money in the street and he's a good citizen. What's his name? G Money? Nah.
But like I said, hey man, let's move to call to FaceTime. Now, here's the question I wanted to ask. Now, I remember when FaceTime first came out, and there was a mild rumor going around that FaceTimes could not be tracked. And then the opposite end of the coin was that, well, anything that happens on the phone could be tracked. At this point now, because DOJ has to get involved, and then you have to think about the Patriot Act and all sorts of different things. Were they onto something then, or was this actually like the start of like, hey, we got an issue? Because even the county folks said that, like, well, did they know under internal did they know that it couldn't be tracked, or like did they not have enough calls and they just need to see each other's face? Like, what was happening here? So yeah, your input.
They should have known then that it couldn't be tracked. Yeah. I don't think to this day FaceTimes can be tracked.
I think
because even with the Patriot Act, the cell phone companies still sued the government and said, we're never giving you this, we're never giving you ability to look at all of this stuff.
Right. I was going to say, especially after the San Bernardino incident where they had to hire the hacker, but see, that's the thing. It may not be able to be tracked, but that doesn't mean they can't do it, because and folks, just to give you context, the San Bernardino terrorist, we'll call them, the one that shot the UPS person, apparently there was premeditated plans on their iPhone, and the FBI begged Apple to unlock these phones, and they were just like, yeah, nah, that's not happening. And then they paid some hacker like $2 or $3 million and gave him a job to do the job, because some guy was like, I can do it, and he did it. So you have to think that, like, wow, it can't probably be tracked. Well, but can it?
but remember though, why they did it for that case? Back then, there was no one was paying that much money to get that type of information. So it was as safe as you can get a form of communication. But the weird part is, if you know this, why isn't? And I think they brought it up. Why every call should be on FaceTime? Dude, you're not allowed to hit me unless it's on FaceTime.
Bingo. Those dudes, man. I hope we get more of them just acting like this. I need like at least one more episode of them thinking that they're so untouchable until they just really slip.
Or you are this big time hustler, drug dealer. My brother, why are you doing business on your personal phone? Like, come on, man. Burners have come a long way. They ain't them normal flip jumps, even though those are still the safest burners to have. But why would you it just shows just how protected Tony felt he was and how untouchable G Money thought he was. That I would even allow you to call me and you calling me from the same number. No. Not a chance in hell, Joe.
Yeah. Absolutely. You nailed it there. Now, you brought this up earlier. Stanley Willis, who decides to meet with Nicole Steele. As you said, he didn't feel safe to just do it in a normal place, so they had to go to a historical Baltimore, not monument, land. What's the word? Because I'm drawing blanks again. Whatever. And the important thing between this conversation is understanding the complete
disregard they had for the Justice Department being there. They did not care that they were there, and they were still being. The corruption didn't change just because they came in, and that was him telling her the story. Like, hey, this just happened. They don't care that you all are here to stop police corruption. Yeah, they're going to continue to be corrupt.
Yeah. And like you said, like it was impossible for them to have witnesses. It was impossible for them to have juries because everybody would just say, listen, the cops, they all lie. So what's the point?
Yep.
And that culture is just landmark is the word. I don't know why I just drew a blank. A historical Baltimore landmark. It's just important to understand that with the people, shall we say, the people of the city not being able to make any type of influence because their voices won't be heard. This literally is one of the most, should we say, almost reassurance to the cops that they're untouchable. Because literally, there's nobody. If you can't get if IDA can't do it, if the people, if the people and the citizens of the city can't do it, they can just do whatever they want. If no one's willing to step up to be a witness, and no one's willing to be on a jury for some of these cases, then what's the case? It doesn't exist.
What's to stop me from continually doing this?
Nothing. And folks, this is why you understand why riots happen.
Yes.
And why the city burned down. Because folks were fed up. And this was just the start of it. And this is just explained to you where the people in the city said, like, no, we're taking back. We're fed up. This is it. This is the last straw. And they decided to protest and riot in the way they felt fit because they had never had their voices ever heard. Because what would it matter if they knew it was always going to be suppressed? So I thought that was a very, like, you know, for a quick 1-2 minute scene, very, very important for you to understand just the way of the land in Baltimore City.
And the way they think policing should work. Keep in mind, they were doing a lot of this because they assumed this would help drop murder rates back then. But to keep perspective here, Baltimore is now currently number 2 in the United States in murders.
Yeah.
They were just shy of winning the title as murder capital. So that means, again, and that's from the 2021 stats. If that's the case, none of this has changed.
Yeah.
We're at the same point because they think that this is the way you police. And their thinking is, hey, stop it before it can happen, which leads you to harass people. Again, he said, you know, that kid was like, I got a nephew that kid's age, he said. Like, it broke his heart to see what they did.
Yeah.
But he made sure he did not stop them from doing it.
Yeah. Yep. Profiling, that's definitely still happening. But yeah, that the whole thing, how they handled the Samuels thing, which is, you know, I ain't gonna say wow, it's just very typical. That's just what it is. I mean, and hey, he had a black hoodie. I'm wearing a black hoodie, and we know anytime you're referencing a black man wearing a hoodie, Trayvon Martin.
Exactly.
Just the sad reality of it. So, quick shout out to my man with the 95 Impala SS. You had that car, you were the man on the block. Ain't matter what year it was. I just wanted to start it out there. I don't know the significance of it, but that's just that. Is there anything else that we need to cover besides the end here?
Is it Detective Saylor? Am I saying his name right?
Saylor? Yes.
Yeah. And I do like the way they're branching him off to a completely different story. We understand that at one point in time he ran with G Money, but we see the way he turned to something completely different to be a legitimate cop. I'm really paying attention to this body that he caught and what angle are they playing with this?
Yeah,
because it's gonna pay dividends because it seems like the moment he said, well, everybody wants to come to fix the fence, and he's like, the dude was shot 5 times. It had nothing to do with that fence. Yeah, like he was gunned down for a reason. And I think in typical fashion of The Wire and all the other stuff that David Simon does is all this little stuff is going to lead to a bigger issue.
Yeah. I didn't give too much attention to that, but you're absolutely right that this building of this is definitely going to bring another element to this series going forward. And you're absolutely right. And while there wasn't much of it, but I think they are dropping little seeds, little tidbits to kind of see his mentality and how it's different and the events of these things and what the significance of these things, because like everything right now has been about corruption. This is a murder, and while Baltimore County is focusing on the murder, it's a murders, but it's still focusing on getting back to G Money, which then goes back to the corruption within Baltimore
Yes.
City. So this is different, and you're right, and I'm definitely curious to see where that goes next. Anything else before we talk about the meeting, the meeting that we was wondering what was going to happen?
It's just the ending.
It's time for the ending then, and that's where Nicole walks into a bar and she gets to meet Herschel because she says, "I think it's about time we met." And my man is necking down some wings, and he's kind of just like, "Who are you? What do you want?" Yep, 46. None of them stuck. This is how you police. And if there wasn't no complaints, then that would be a problem. And if people out are complaining because they're criminals, of course they're going to complain. That's the philosophy of being a police. And she's like, "Listen, I'm just here to write a report."
She's like, "This is not leading to any form of prosecution. I'm just trying to learn more about policing in Baltimore." And he quickly shut her down because he didn't rightfully so. He didn't believe her for a minute. Like, you're not coming to see him just to talk about policing in Baltimore.
Yeah,
he understands he's a dirty cop.
Yep. So that was this episode. Just another quick shout out. Again, Jamie Hector, as they said, Detective Sean Suter. God, because that's a tongue twister. I'm definitely interested in seeing where that character goes next, because like you said, it's going to bring another element. And I also think it's important that element's there because, as you just stated about the 2021 statistics, there hasn't been a focus on murder yet in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's drugs, where there's crime, there's murder.
Or even worse with the detective. He was at one point in time a plainclothes officer. Could he have been someone who was corrupt, who attempted to make himself clean? But if your past corruption come out, it don't matter how clean you are. Yeah. I think they really pinpointed when he took the case of someone coming to him saying, "Well, I think he's a first class detective. Yeah. So do you need any help?" So we understand he's just progressed to this point.
Yeah.
What's in his past though? And will that come back to haunt him?
Yeah. That's true. Well, folks, that will do it for our review, recap, discussion, breakdown, all those words of this episode 2 of We Own This City. Jump in the comments, let us know your thoughts about tonight's episodes, your predictions, your analysis, your connections to some of the events happening, whatever you got
for Baltimore,
all of that, your hatred for us, if it must be. Don't do that. Show us love, we'll show you love. You know the drill, folks. But we're back each and every week at the conclusion of each episode with your official recap. We'll see you then.